Hello everyone and welcome to Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture, brought to you this week by the Mississippi Farm Bureau. On the show this time, we come to you from the Sunbelt Ag Expo, held last month in Moultrie, Georgia.
Can I say hi? Mississippi farm-raised catfish, compliments of Mr. Mike McCormick.
It's such a wonderful experience. We get to talk to people that are passionate about agriculture like we are in Mississippi.
We visit the largest bonsai tree nursery in the country, located in North Mississippi.
Bonsai technically means tree in a pot, but it's really trees that have small leaves or short needles, and you create the look of a bonsai through trimming techniques, wiring. Some of them are slower growers or dwarfs, but as a rule of thumb, you really create a bonsai.
We take you to a family farm in the Mississippi Delta that raises, mills, packages, and sells its own rice.
Rice is one of the few things that farmers in the Delta grow that goes straight to the plate. And we really like that idea, and so we took that and ran with it as far as trying to start a mill and just beginning that whole process.
And we take you to the 25th annual Delta Rice Luncheon, celebrating one of that region's most important crops.
We have participating restaurants from around the Delta, as well as volunteers who have chipped in to make these dishes for everyone to taste today. And we're excited to say that we have new restaurants who've decided to participate as well. And in addition to this event, because it is 25 years of National Rice Month, we decided to do something a little extra and just to make our farmers feel a little bit more important on this 25th year.
Nancy Freeman will also be here to show you a tasty rice dish. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
When most people think of agriculture, they think of food, clothing, and shelter.
I grow spark plugs, and I grow toothpaste.
I grow crayons and truck seats.
Well, I raise guitar strings and emery boards.
Advancements in technology have allowed us to develop new uses for common agricultural products, and that helps the whole economy. The farm families of Mississippi, growing the things you use every day.
The Sunbelt Ag Expo is an agriculture-based trade show located in Moultrie, Georgia. This is the 38th year of this event that showcases the latest in agricultural technology and hosts over 1,200 exhibitors on its 100-acre exhibit area. It's billed as the largest farm show in America, and it brings together all segments of rural living, from research and education to the live farm harvest and agribusiness. Nearly 100,000 people attended the three-day expo that delighted young and old alike. The working research farm gives visitors the opportunity to see the equipment performing firsthand in the harvesting and tillage demonstrations that are held each day.
Oh, it's important for the farmers to continue to learn, and shows like ours with research farms, we try and true that technology to make sure when it gets in the farmers' hands, it's ready to go to work for them and make them money and improve their bottom line.
There are 10 southeastern states that take part in the expo, and one state is featured each year as the spotlight state. This year, it was Mississippi.
We always love to tell our story, Greg. It's such a wonderful experience to get to talk to people that are passionate about agriculture like we are in Mississippi, but to showcase what our farmers and our ranchers do in Mississippi.
We're very proud that we're able to be the showcase spotlight state, and our theme or logo this year is Life is Sweeter in Mississippi. But it gives us a chance to really tell all the visitors who come here about all the great things that we're doing in Mississippi in agriculture.
Putting together this entire exhibit that showcases Mississippi was a huge undertaking, and it took a lot of cooperation from many different organizations.
You hear me talk about all the time what an important role it is for us to operate in partnerships, not only within our own organization, but with outside industry groups and with our university system. Dr. Jackson told me today there's never been a better time in Mississippi State's history than we have today with working with outside industry groups and with our legislators, for us all pulling together as a team to do what's best for agriculture in Mississippi.
The Spotlight State Building exhibit contained booths from the Mississippi Farm Bureau and Farm Families of Mississippi, Mississippi State University, Alcorn State University, the Mississippi Department of Agriculture, the Catfish Farmers of Mississippi, the Sweet Potato Farmers of Mississippi, and others. Lots of information was available, but also a lot of food produced in the state was served up to hungry visitors.
Can I say hi?
Mississippi farm-raised catfish. Compliments of Mr. Mike McCormick.
Of course, one of the highlights of the three-day show was the announcement of the Sunbelt Expo Southeastern Farmer of the Year Award, as 10 state winners competed for the prestigious title. The winner was Danny Cornegay, a diversified farmer from Princeton, North Carolina. Mississippi's finalist was Alan Eubanks, a fourth-generation farmer from Lucedale, Mississippi, specializing in farm-fresh, hand-picked vegetable crops.
Alan has got a wonderful family down in George County, one of the largest vegetable producers, certainly in Mississippi, but throughout the Southeast. Couldn't have picked a better person than Alan.
Really great experience. I got to meet a lot of great folks, a lot of the farming community, which is just great people all around, you know. So they really rolled out the red carpet for us and showed us a good time, had a good food, good people, a lot of entertainment.
There's never a dull moment at this three-day event that includes live entertainment, antique tractors, field demonstrations, and even a milking contest featuring our own Commissioner of Agriculture, Cindy Hyde-Smith.
I would have won. I hate I didn't get out to a dairy and kind of practice up so I could come in as the ringer, but I'm not going to be the ringer, I don't think. I understand Gary Black, the Commissioner of Georgia, is probably going to be our ringer this afternoon.
We'll be right back after this timeout. Stay with us.
The farm families of Mississippi provide an abundance of good, nutritious, and safe food to Mississippi and the world. As research and development reveals advancements in biotechnology, it is possible to raise crops and herds that are disease-free, lean, and that require fewer chemicals. Not only does that result in safer foods, it also results in a safer environment, ensuring that our waterways and wildlife are clean and healthy. The farm families of Mississippi, ensuring safe food and a safe environment.
Forestry is Mississippi's second largest agricultural industry, bringing in over $1 billion annually to the state's economy. But when you think of Mississippi forestry, you think of pine plantations and hardwood forests, not trees in a pot.
This limb was grafted on.
Russell Martin of Olive Branch loves trees, so much so that he and his business partner, McNeil McDonald, started a tree nursery, only not with your typical type of trees. They grow bonsai trees.
Bonsai technically means tree in a pot, but it's really trees that have small leaves or short needles, and you create the look of a bonsai through trimming techniques, wiring. Some of them are slower growers or dwarfs, but as a rule of thumb, you really create a bonsai. So it takes some technique and some understanding of plants, but a lot of it's selection. Like this Hinoki cypress has a nice compact foliage, short needles, and it's got a nice color, plus it grows relatively slow. So you create a bonsai in a container, and it gets character over time as it ages.
Trimming and training is what gives the trees their unique look.
You train the branches, and the roots are in a nice container that's selected according to the tree's size and shape. But it'll grow, so you keep them healthy. You want them growing, so they're not really stunted or deprived of nutrition or anything in the pot. And so you trim the new growth as it comes out. So you get twigging and you create branching by trimming, so it's a refinement. It's part of the refinement technique to get them to look old and cool.
One of the ways that Martin likes to grow bonsai trees is in groupings called forests.
These are dwarf Hinokis. There's several varieties of dwarf Hinoki that make good trees. This happens to be a super dwarf version called Seca, and you know, they look interesting perched up on this ledge right here. So we've there again put anchors that will hold them to the rock, and then this is a soil. We build up kind of a clay dam around the edge and fill it with soil. So they're in a fair amount of soil and they're healthy. And then we put these nice little dwarf azaleas around here as kind of accent plants. So this is pretty dramatic as far as, you know, being a bonsai, but it just shows you all the different styles and creativity you can put into a bonsai planting. These probably are probably 10-year-old trees, 10 or 12. These are probably 5 or 6. But placing them in a group like this, it kind of gives you the an interesting, and you can see I've got a wire on a few branches here. And these need lightly trimming. This is a good example of how they grow out over a couple of month period, so this needs a little refinement.
But one of the most popular plants are the green mound junipers.
See, here's typical Karate Kid kind of, this is probably our biggest selling plant, or that or the azaleas, but it's called green mound junipers because it grows naturally flat on the ground. And when you grow it up a stake by, just turning it up and letting it naturally puts all this trunk curvature. So it makes it pretty easy. So that's the most, what I'd call the most common and easy to grow outdoor tree. Has the bonsai look, evergreen, compact foliage, nice, easy to maintain. About the only thing you got to watch out for these is red spider.
Brussels Bonsai Nursery is by far the largest bonsai nursery in the country. They sell over 250,000 trees annually. And during the 8-day period around Mother's Day alone, they sell in excess of 50,000. They can ship anywhere in the world and package everything carefully so the tree arrives in perfect condition.
The bulk of what we ship are probably, I'd say, 1 foot to 2 feet tall. And those we have, over the years, developed packing techniques that, you want to get it to them in perfect condition. So that's the real important thing. A lot of times if it's a bigger tree or an irregular shaped tree, styrofoam peanuts, we fill a box. Some of them we have, the smaller trees have a collar that go down around them and lock them in, and then a sleeve that goes over that for presentation. So we've kind of perfected transportation and getting them to people.
So support a Mississippi agribusiness by visiting Brussels Bonsai in Olive Branch or on the web at brusselsbonsai.com. In today's world, there are a lot of people who are interested in where their food comes from, and they want to buy locally produced food whenever possible. Well, one multi-generational Delta farm family is trying to capitalize on that by packaging and selling the rice they grow in their own fields. The brand name is Delta Blues Rice. The Arant family has been farming this land in the Mississippi Delta since the early 1920s.
Like most everybody who's in the Delta now, their forefathers came from the hills and settled in this area, which is eastern the Sunflower, western LaFleur counties. We're east of Cleveland, northwest of Greenwood. So we're basically in the middle of nowhere around here, but we do have blacktop roads, so and good gravel roads, so we're okay.
Our farm has been going for 90 years. I've been farming since 1978. The actual row crop, we are farming around 3,800 acres.
Brothers Hugh Jr. and David, along with David's son, David Jr., are the 3rd and 4th generations of the Arant family to break ground here.
Years ago, when my daddy was still living, when I was a senior at Mississippi State, I told him I thought we'd make a better rice crop if we just got the water on it. And he said, well, you want to do it? And I said, yeah, I'd do it. Kind of as a challenge, and so I've been doing it ever since. And it's worked out well for Hugh and me because we know what we need to do for each crop, and so we just go ahead and do it, and we don't interfere with what the other one is doing.
For a long time, the Arants felt they wanted to add value to the rice they grew. They'd been milling and giving away some of their rice, so they thought it might be a good idea to do some more of that. But it was David Jr. that put the idea into practice.
The idea came a few years ago. We were just kind of standing around talking about how this farm to table movement is really growing and how important it is for people to know who is growing their food. And we really like the idea of, rice is one of the few things that farmers in the Delta grow that goes straight to the plate. And we really like that idea, and so we took that and ran with it as far as trying to start a mill and just beginning that whole process.
David Jr. graduated from Mississippi State with a degree in civil engineering and worked for a firm in Jackson before returning to the family farm. He's now the manager of the family-owned rice mill.
It's just been a long process of procuring equipment and figuring out how to do this and getting bags, and just took a long time to get to where we are now. I mean, there's a lot of learning involved. We had no idea what we were getting into when we started this whole process, but we've learned a whole lot. We've come a long way.
The Arants mill the rice as it is needed, and as the demand for their product grows, they expect to spend more and more of their time on this end of the business.
When the rice comes out of the field, we store it in our grain bins and we dry it to the proper moisture. And then when we have a need for rice here at the mill, we ship it over, and the rice goes through several different cleaning processes before we get it into the mill. And once it's been cleaned and we have a need, we bring it right here, and this bin holds the rice for the mill to mill it. The rice comes out of the bin, goes into this elevator, and there it is. It enters the mill. This machine right here is the mill. This part right here of the mill is what we call the husker. This takes the husk off of the rough rice. If you just want brown rice, this part right here gives you brown rice. And then the mill goes up here. This is just processes that separate the rough rice from the milled rice. And if we want brown rice, it'll just bypass the whitening process of the mill and go to the next step. If you want white rice, this part of the mill right here is the polisher, and it polishes the rice to a certain degree of whiteness. The polishing process is there's a series of stones and grates inside this machine that just grind the bran off of the rice. And the rice bran is separated out from the white rice. When the rice comes out of the mill, whether brown rice or white rice, it goes to the sifter. And the sifter is what separates out the small little broken pieces of rice, any kind of dust from the whole grains of rice. When the rice leaves the sifter, it comes up to this bucket elevator and goes to this color sorter. And the color sorter separates the colors of the rice, brown rice or white rice. It can distinguish between the two. The good rice comes out of this and it goes up to this machine, which is called the link separator. And this machine separates out the whole grains of rice from the broken grains of rice. Once the rice leaves the link separator, elevators take it up and goes to a bagging bin, really just more of a day bagging bin. We like to mill it out and leave it in there, and then we bag it up immediately so it doesn't sit in there. And this machine right here is our 1 pound and 2 pound bagging machine.
All of this bagging is done by hand, one at a time by David Jr. Delta Blues rice is sold in several places across the state.
In the Jackson area, we have Whole Foods, there's Everyday Gourmet, there's Sugar Magnolia in Madison, there's Persnickety in Madison. There's just a ton of places in Madison. And around the state, we have a lot of exposure in the state, and even all the way Texas, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina.
And if you can't get by one of these places, you can always order online at deltabluesrice.com.
Rice is a very important crop to us. We always say rice is what got us where we are. And of course the soybeans are important, the corn's important, but on our type land, rice works really good.
We'll have more of Voices of Agriculture right after these messages. The Mississippi Delta rice industry recently celebrated National Rice Month with its 25th annual Delta Rice Luncheon at Delta State University in Cleveland. More than 1,000 people gathered at the Delta State Coliseum to taste hundreds of different ways to serve one of the Delta's premier crops. The luncheon has been produced for a quarter of a century by Delta Rice Promotions.
Many years ago, Farm Bureau Ladies Group always had this on a much smaller scale, but we were always promoted rice. And then it kind of faded out, and so 25 years ago a group got together and decided that we needed to celebrate National Rice Month and decided that we needed to pick the luncheon up again. So that's where it came from, and it has grown every year since then, I think. Especially if the weather's good like it is today.
We have participating restaurants from around the Delta, as well as volunteers who have chipped in to make these dishes for everyone to taste today. And we're excited to say that we have new restaurants who've decided to participate as well. And in addition to this event, Because it is 25 years of National Rice Month, we decided to do something a little extra and just to make our farmers feel a little bit more important on this 25th year.
Mississippi ranks 5th in the nation in rice production, and almost all of it comes from the northwest corner of the state in the Mississippi Delta.
Rice is an extremely healthy food. We grow it in Bolivar County, Coahoma County, the counties of the Delta, and it's actually milled in Greenville, some of it is, and you kind of get to eat what you grow, you know, so it's a good deal.
Economically, it is a very strong foothold for our area. Rice is a product that is grown here in the Delta, it is milled here in the Delta, and it is packaged and sold right here in the Delta. So it's one of the few ag crops that doesn't have a lot of processing to go through before it makes it to the shelf. So we're lucky here in the Delta that we have that. And so we are just trying to educate people about rice, what it is nutritionally, what it is to their, would mean to them, their household, the many, many different uses.
Delta Rice Promotions represents farmers, agribusinesses, farm organizations, and government agencies, and is dedicated solely to promoting the rice industry. In our Mississippi on the Menu segment, we continue our theme of rice as Nancy Freeman prepares a tasty rice dish.
Northwest Mississippi is the proud home of the majority of rice producers in our state. And in 2014, the rice crop brought in $174 million to our state. And not only that, it provides thousands of jobs for people in our state, both on and off of the farm. Rice ranks as one of our top agricultural exports in the state. Now, rice is a great thing to look for, and one of the ones you might want to look for is our Delta Blues rice. This one is grown, harvested, and milled here right in the state, so truly Mississippi all the way. Let's make a rice tart. Great little thing to have. I've started with some softened cream cheese. To do this, I'm going to add an egg, a little vanilla, and some sugar. We're going to blend this up a little bit. Just that quick and easy, making sure it's smooth. And to this, we're going to add some cooked rice. What a delicious treat. Rice is one of those wonderful foods that we like to have in our family meals because not only is it economical with your food items, but it's also one of those that blends so well with so many different foods. I mean, it's great as a side on its own, or putting in something like this when we're making this rice tart. I mean, this is a great way to use cooked rice that you may have, because sometimes, if you're like me, you cook a big old pot of rice at one time and then you have a little bit left over. Once this is mixed up, we've got a muffin tin and we've put vanilla wafers in the bottom of these, and we're just going to take a scoop of our rice mixture and we're going to scoop it right in on top. These are going to go in our oven and bake for about 20 minutes, so it's a quick, easy, delicious dessert that you can have, and great for parties. Lots of fun and easy to make. Let's take a look at our finished product. You can see you can top it with some lovely fresh fruit or even a pie filling. It's great. So check us out at growingmississippi.org for more information about Mississippi farmers and this great recipe.
We invite you to learn more about Mississippi agriculture and its importance to your daily life. Visit growingmississippi.org. And that's all the time we have for this edition of Voices of Agriculture. We hope you've enjoyed the show and will be with us again next time. For all of us here at the Mississippi Farm Bureau, thanks for watching.